Hey guys, welcome to Alice and Anna. My name is Anna and today it's my must-watch films of the 2000s. So the 2000s, I was growing up, so I've seen a lot of these films in the movie theaters or renting them out in Blockbuster. I used to love going to Blockbuster. I really, it got me so hyped, and I used to go almost every Friday because it was like we would rent out the movies for the weekend and then we would drop them off on Mondays, and it was the best thing ever. And like fighting with my siblings of what to choose between the aisles and then buying candy was the best thing ever. But they're dead now, so rest in peace. Anyways, this list is very long unlike my other videos. This is part 4, if I'm right, of my must-watch film series. I did movies before the 80s, movies of the 80s, movies of the 90s, and now it's the movies of the 2000s. And I'm really excited. But this is a really long list, longer than the previous videos. So I'm gonna breeze a little bit through these. But all of these films are amazing. I love them. No matter how many times I've seen them, I keep rewatching them and everything. So they're all a must watch for me. That's why this video is called. Okay, first off, the first film is called Gladiator. It came out in 2000. It was directed by Ridley Scott and it stars Russell Crowe. He won Best Actor for this film, and it is honestly a really good movie. I personally love the Roman Empire, and this has a lot to do with that because it's basically a general called Maximus who gets demoted until he has to fight as a gladiator. And I love the Roman Empire, so this was an amazing movie and great acting. The next film is called Almost Famous. It came out in 2000 as well. This film has a great score and soundtrack, and it won an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. And it is really good. It's basically a kid who's 15 years old and goes with a rock band on the road. It's really funny, it's a comedy, but it's really good. I love it, and I love the poster. I find it very pleasing. I don't even know why, but it's really good. The next film, I feel like we can all identify with the madness of it. It's called Castaway. It's basically Tom Hanks and his plane crashes and he's stuck in an island and he's going crazy. And if this quarantine isn't making me crazy or any of you crazy, then and it gives us the famous Wilson scene where he's shouting off in the distance to a ball because he basically made his own friend, and it's really good. The next film is not something that everybody absolutely loves, but I think this is one of my favorite movies ever, and it's called Zoolander, and it came out in 2001. Now, it's the most random movie ever. It's basically a dumb model played by Ben Stiller who gets brainwashed into killing the Malaysian Prime Minister. But it's so funny, and it's actually directed by Ben Stiller, and Owen Wilson also stars in it. Oh my god, I love this film so much, and every single person that I tell, oh my god, Zoolander, they're like, I haven't seen it, and it's a must watch. I'm gonna rewatch it again tonight probably, just because I enjoyed it so much. So the next two films are franchises. They both came out in 2001. The first one is Lord of the Rings. This series, I don't know if all of them, but I think all of them were directed by Peter Jackson, and he's a very interesting director because he's always trying new things, and as a film student I find that very interesting to watch. It's a big franchise, and I won't go into the story because it's so long and so weird. Sorry, Lord of the Rings fans, don't kill me. I think this is a must watch because of the way that it impacted pop culture, but I personally don't love it as much as it's hyped up. I feel like it's overrated. I'm gonna get stabbed soon if I don't stop talking about that. I must say the cinematography and production design and locations, the acting, everything is great. But yeah, the next franchise is Harry Potter. That's a franchise I'm obsessed with. Chris Columbus, who directed the first two, and then Alfonso Cuarón, who directed the third one. Now, I wrote Harry Potter just here, even though I went to the next decade and all through this decade, because I love the entire franchise. It is absolutely magnificent. My favorite one is the third one, directed by Alfonso Cuarón. I think that's when it takes a darker turn. That's when we see what's coming all the way through the rest of the movies, and I'm already talking too much about this franchise, but yes, it is a beautiful franchise and it's impacted so much. I mean, if you go to the UK, every single souvenir store sells something about Harry Potter, so it definitely is very important for pop culture. The next one is a musical and a romance called Moulin Rouge. I hope I said that right, French people. Comment down below if I did. The production design in this film is absolutely incredible, and it even won an Oscar. And the music is good. Some songs are amazing. And it stars Ewan McGregor and... what's her name? Yes, Nicole Kidman. Okay, yes, yeah, that took me a while. Like, The next film, also from 2001, a lot of films from this year, so sorry. It's called Legally Blonde. This film stars Reese Witherspoon, and it's written by a woman. I personally think it's written by a woman for women. I think it's a rom-com. It might be just a teen comedy, but it is amazing. It's all about girl power and fighting stereotypes and finding yourself. It brings out the iconic line, like,
you got into Harvard Law?
What, like it's hard?
I love it. I honestly feel like this is one of my favorite rom-coms where it's very feminist in a way. It's very about girl power and being you and not letting anybody stop you, and I love that. The next one is The Royal Tenenbaums. It's directed by Wes Anderson, and it's funny, and it's all about like family of estranged siblings, and they get back together because their father is dying. It's a comedy drama, but I find it very quirky, very Wes Anderson, and the palette is beautiful as in any Wes Anderson film. The next two films are foreign films. Well, foreign films are like, I guess not UK or American, but you know what I mean. A French film called Amelie. If you haven't seen it, that would be very weird. It's really good. The soundtrack and score are both incredible in this film, and the acting is really good from the main character as well. And the next film is a Mexican film. It's Alfonso Cuarón. This is like a very different Alfonso Cuarón from what everybody knows, and it is a very funny like coming of age road film. Next film is finally from a different year. It's from 2002. It's called The Pianist. This is a Roman Polanski film, and yes, it is that Roman Polanski whose wife got murdered by Charles Manson's clique. So the thing about Roman Polanski, even though he's not like an amazing person or anything, is that he's amazing. He's an amazing director, and this film is incredible, and it's basically a World War II film, and it won Best Adapted Screenplay in the Oscars, and it has great cinematography. The next film is actually such a bad film that has to be here. This film is called The Room. It came out in 2003. It was directed by Tom Wiseau, who also starred in it, and it is the worst film, but it is so funny. The acting sucks. And there was actually a film later made about it called The Disaster Artist, which is also really funny. The next one is a very bloody, action-packed film. It's called Kill Bill, and it's directed by Quentin Tarantino. He also acts in it a little bit. It stars Uma Thurman, and I feel like the score goes so well with the movie, and it is a masterpiece. Well, score-wise, it's a masterpiece. And also, like, if you love Quentin Tarantino movies, like this is bloody violent. Next film is Lost in Translation, and this was directed by Sofia Coppola. I think she also wrote it. This film stars Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson, and it's a romance drama, and it is honestly a beautiful film. The direction in this is impeccable. The cinematography is beautiful, and Sofia Coppola is actually one of the 5 directors in the history of the Oscars to ever be nominated, which is another thing for another day. I absolutely believe that she was snubbed that year. Definitely check it out. It is a beautiful film. The next film came out in 2003. It's called Big Fish. This is a Tim Burton film, and it is so quirky, so Tim Burton, so weird, and I love it. And it has beautiful bright colors, and it's very interesting, and I would definitely watch it if I were you. Next film is a big ass franchise. I personally don't love all of them. It's Pirates of the Caribbean. Johnny Depp stars in this. Johnny Depp acting as this pirate.
Sparrow, isn't it? Captain Jack Sparrow, if you please.
It's one of the best performances and most iconic performances ever. And it's also a pirate movie, which I don't think I've had on my list yet, but it's pirates, you have to see it. Arr. Next film is a rom-com. It's called How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and it is the funniest rom-com I've ever seen. It stars Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey. It kind of makes fun on like the stereotypes of what women do that makes men break up with them, and it is really good. Next one is a teenage movie, I would say, but it is my favorite teenage movie. It's called Mean Girls, and if you know me well, I probably quote Mean Girls a lot under my breath. It's just something that is always in my mind, and I never get tired of it, and it is amazing. The next film is called The Notebook. It's a rom-com. It's a romance. It's written by Nicholas Sparks, the same story, just with different characters. This is probably one of the only original stories from Nicholas Sparks. I find him really repetitive, but I find that The Notebook is actually pretty endearing and not that repetitive, so it's a really good romance to watch. If I love a romance movie, it would be the next one, which also came out in the same year, 2004, and it's called The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and it stars Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet, and it's basically Jim Carrey goes to a doctor to forget about his breakup. Most of it is in his mind through all of these memories and how they're being erased, and it's so good, so original. Honestly, like, I saw it and I was like, this is a really original way to tell a story, and it's so well done. It's great. From 2005, there is a movie called Bareback Mountain, and it's basically two guys who develop feeling for each other, but it all gets like super complicated. So it's kind of like a closeted gay story. I love it. I love the acting in this. It's Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal, and they're both incredible actors. Next film is also from the same year. It's called Pride and Prejudice. It stars Keira Knightley, and this is my favorite adaptation of that book. It's really well acted, and there's something about this book that is already really good, so seeing it in a movie and like well done was really satisfying, and it's really good. The next film is really iconic. It stars Meryl Streep, Emily Blunt, and Anne Hathaway, and it's called The Devil Wears Prada, and I love this film. Also, so many iconic lines, iconic moments, and it's all about this woman developing within her career of fashion. It has some really good life lessons of like toxic people and relationships. It's really good. Next film is from 2006, and it makes me really happy. It's called Children of Men, and it makes me really happy because it was directed by a Mexican director, Alfonso Cuarón, and the cinematography was also done by a guy who you will never guess he's Mexican because of his name, Emmanuel Lubezki, but he is Mexican. It's an amazing film. It's basically, there's 18 years of infertility and suddenly a woman becomes pregnant. And I find that it's a very original story, and it's a thriller. It's so well done, and I love the cinematography in it because Emmanuel Lubezki is just like a legend. He is, wow. Next film, also from a Mexican director, which makes me also really happy, is called Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth is actually a Mexican slash Spanish film. It was shot in Spain because of the story is set during the Spanish World War, but it was developed by Mexican people, so it had like a very cool mixture of those two cultures. So good. I feel like this is probably my second favorite Guillermo del Toro film, if not the first one. I absolutely adore it. Next film, nobody really knows it, and I don't know why. It's a drama. It came out in 2006, and it stars Will Smith and Jaden Smith, and I think this is the first time he ever acted because he was like a tiny little boy, but an amazing performance by him, by the way. But Will Smith really outdid himself with this movie. It was incredible. I also like the cinematography, but the story is so good. I don't know why I said it that way, but yeah, definitely a must watch. Next film is from 2007. It's called No Country for Old Men. This one stars a very famous actor who's Spanish, Javier Bardem, and it was directed by the Coen brothers. This was an amazing film. It's a thriller and crime story, and it won Best Picture of that year in the Oscars, and I absolutely agree. It is an incredible film. Next film is from my favorite director, David Fincher, also from 2007, called Zodiac. I love this film. The palette of colors in this film is absolutely stunning. Like, I don't know why I always look at it, I'm like, this is so pleasing. And it's based on true events about the Zodiac killer. The story is really good, and the directing as well. I also like the cinematography a lot, and chef's kiss. Next film also makes me really happy. It's called The Hurt Locker. This one came out in 2008, and this was directed by Catherine Bigelow. She's the first woman in the history of the Oscars to ever win an Oscar, and the only one so far. The film is action-packed and has beautiful cinematography. The direction, again, is impeccable. That's why she won. Next film, I want to mention the trilogy, even though I'm only mentioning this one, but it's Dark Knight. It came out in 2008. It was directed by Christopher Nolan, who is an incredible, fantastic director. And it stars Kristen Bale and Heath Ledger, Morgan Freeman and Gary Oldman, and like great cast. And this is my favorite rendition of Batman. Even the Tim Burton one doesn't beat this, even though that's a good one. This one was very seriously taken, and the acting is incredible in this film series, and whew, incredible. Just, you have to watch this trilogy. It's out of this world. And it goes so well with the new Joker film because they're both like very serious films, even though they come from comics. So the next film is called Fish Tank. It came out in 2009. It's a very indie English film. It's also female directed. Her name is Andrea Arnold. But it is a really, really good coming of age indie problematic girl story. So definitely would watch. And the last one on my list is a very like bloody ending to this list, but it's Inglourious Bastards. It was directed by Quentin Tarantino and it stars Brad Pitt, and it's basically a group of guys who were trying to take down the Nazi government in the World War II. It also stars Christopher Waltz, and it's a war drama, and it has a lot of action, and it's of course very bloody because it's a Quentin Tarantino film, but it is really, really good. I know that World War II films are very, very popular, but I find that this one's pretty original. I would definitely watch it. I mean, I did watch all of these films, so like that means absolutely nothing. So that was my entire list for the 2000s. I was gonna end this series next week with my 2010s, if that's how you say that, decade video, but I decided that next week I'm gonna do something different. So I'm gonna do a special thing for the channel to have some fun, and then the week after that I'll finish off this series. So keep an eye out for Thursday for another video, and then next Monday for a special surprise. If you like this video, leave a like. If you have something to say, leave a comment. Maybe leave a film that you think I missed. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.